Hey everyone, I'm so excited to bring you a Brooks High School graduate that has served in the military. Today we have with us Patrick Ware. So, Patrick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me.
Would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
My name is Patrick Weir. I am from Florence originally. I haven't lived there in quite some time, but I graduated from Brooks High School in 1983. And I went to college for like a half a semester. And my father was like, "You're going to have to get better at school or figure out something else to do." And so I joined the military.
Mhm.
And I left, and I was in the military the first time from March 20th, 1984 to December 7th, 1991. And then I got out and played music professionally for about 8 years in Texas and Oklahoma and out on the West Coast. And then I had an opportunity to go to a medical school. And they told me, they being the Air Force, told me that if you come back in, we'll send you to medical school. And so, at the time, there were things going on in my life where it's probably a good idea to, change directions. And so I got back in, and I was about 2 years into that medical training, and then 9/11 started. And so I spent the next 17 years going to those war zones and back. And ultimately, I got into a position where I was also training and deploying flight paramedics to go and, flight medics and flight nurses to go to combat and come back. And so I retired in 2017. I was medically retired. The job I had is not good to your body. And so I'm retired. And I spend my time studying Spanish and studying music and everything I didn't get to do when I was running around the world in the military.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit more about what your job was when you were in the Air Force? What was your daily routine like? I'm sure it was different every day, but can you give us a summary?
Well, the first job I had was public health when I came in the 80s. And that was a normal job. I was working at a hospital. We had to prepare for, war at the time, which was supposedly with the Russians back in the 1980s. But, fortunately, that never happened. And so, it was more mundane. It was more like just a regular job that you go to. You almost forget you're in the military except you're wearing that uniform. The second job I had, though, was when I first started training for it, we were training for a war we didn't know was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And but our teachers did, and they were ruthless on us, and they were unforgiving. And you either got this stuff or you were gone, because they kept telling us, somebody's life's going to depend on this, and we kind of half understood what that meant. And then September 11th happened in 2001, and we found out
Yeah.
what they meant. And that job was not in any way mundane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I came back into the Air Force, I was not active duty. I was in the reserves, but I was so busy, I may as well have been active duty. That's the only job I had, for the next 17 years. And I was on a flight crew. So, in a nutshell, we worked for a group of people where we flew into combat zones and extracted mass casualties from those combat zones um, under the conditions you would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tried to get them out alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did every day. It was a cat and mouse thing. They tried to harm people, and we snuck in the middle of the night and pulled them out. And that went on and on and on for till I retired and until we ended our involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq.
In the military, there's different pros and cons and things like that. But what would you say was the best part about your service in the military?
Well, you might find this odd for me to say this, and I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to. I really don't know how to say this, okay? But the best part of my service in the military were the most dangerous parts.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, while we were trying to get these people out, there were people constantly shooting at us in airplanes going in, shooting at us going out, trying to sneak around, trying to shoot our patients while we're trying to get them in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exciting and terrifying at the same time. But in those moments, and my brothers and sisters that I do this work with will tell you the same thing. In those moments, you find out who you are, what you are. There's no longer talking about it. It's not a bunch of bluster, with your chest out going, I'm these things, You find out what you are and you find out what you ain't, and you find out pretty quick. And it's valuable
Mm-hmm.
for the not only now, but if you live through it and for the rest of your life, because you don't walk around just saying it and wondering if it's true anymore.
Yeah.
What you're going to do when you're backed up against the wall. And I'd say that's probably one of the most valuable things that was given to me because I was a kid, when I left there.
Yeah.
And I walked around like any kid going, I'm going to be a big shot and all this, but I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I could be or do, and that job made me prove it. No talking. One of my instructors used to tell me, he goes, "This job right here, when you're doing it, talking's over." He said, "You either prove it or you don't prove it." And war and the things that are around war and injured people, not just soldiers, but we took care of a lot of injured children, a lot of injured women, a lot of local folks, how you operate in the face of that kind of adversity is going to say what you're going to be about the rest of your life, And so I'd say the hardest part was the most valuable part. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that they get you in with is that they'll give you free lodging, free clothing, free food, all these things, education, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do all those things. They taught me how to eat, or they taught me how to find my own food if they didn't give it to me. They taught me how to build a shelter if I couldn't find one. They taught me how to make some clothing if I couldn't have the clothing they gave me. And then they gave me the opportunity to be educated, which through them I got 2 associate's degrees and a bachelor's degree. For that, one day somebody's going to come along and ask you to pay for that. And you will do that with your dedication and your body.
What advice do you have for students that are maybe interested in pursuing a military career?
Serve your country.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth doing. You can go off to college for 4 years after school and, maybe you get an education, probably not. I'm not going to, I don't want to get into what all goes on at college, but it ain't education, And, or you get into the military, and when you come out, your college is paid for. You are more equipped to finish college. And the big fun is that nobody's really missed you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we get told these ideas. You have to do this thing and this thing and this thing. You have to do it quick and fall in line. You don't. Nobody's going to know you never went to college at 21 until you enter college if you go in the military first. So I say join the military. And if you're going to join the military, pick your branch. Now we have Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, and Coast Guard. And now we have the Space Force. And I know a couple of people that went from the Air Force into the Space Force. I was in the United States Air Force. I know many people from all branches of service. And then, of course, even though the U.S. Coast Guard is not under the Department of Defense, it's under Homeland Security. It is a branch of service and certainly one worth doing. And it's something you should look into if you want to guard a coast worth guarding, which is the coast of the United States of America. It's a good branch too. But do your homework. Before you go in there, you need to imagine. Anything that you wanted to be, and then you need to imagine what you would be if there was no way you could fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there was no way you could fail, and then you need to go to those branches of service and find that thing, and then you need to go in and don't fail.
Mm-hmm.
You keep going until there's nothing left of you. They either drag you out of there or you walk out with what you came for. That's it.
Okay.
You know, they're not going to give you nothing. Nothing's free. You're going to fight for everything you got. You're going to watch other friends of yours not make it, and they're going to drop out, and you're going to keep moving. And in the end, the prize is down there. None of it is given. All of it is earned. All of it is earned hard. It will make you more equipped to stand in the world that you're going into, because the world that you're going into is a lot like a combat zone, and except they're not shooting at you every day, but certainly, uh, you know, nobody's concerned about your well-being except your mama and you. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to have some skills to get out there and get it. So for me, the military provided that stuff, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And then finally, the third thing I'm going to say here, and this will be the last thing I say about that, you should earn your right to be here if you're physically able.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you about my beliefs, about what I think about conscription and these types of things, but I do believe that if you're able-bodied man or woman in this country, you should give back to your country.
Mm-hmm.
You should pay for what you got. And I didn't think that way when I was in high school. It was only after I lived overseas in many places, went to many places, good and terrible, that I realized that even being waking up in this country is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
That people have no idea how tough it is. I know young folks probably get up and hear the news and people talking about the country's terrible and it's in the worst shape and it's awful. These are lies, man. They're lies. It's not true, because if you go to some other place where every day you get up, another one of your family members is gone, your child starving to death in front of your face because there ain't no food. And then you come back here to this country and you wander through a stocked up Publix and you call it terrible. It's not terrible. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great, great, great place.
Really, the last question that I have for you is just, is there any last words of wisdom you want to leave with students at Brooks High School?
Well, there's a highway that runs out in front of that school. It's Highway 72. I used to sit there in economics class and look out that window. I should have been studying, but I was looking out the window. And I wondered how far that road went. And I found out. It goes all the way around the world, and it comes right back to right in front of Brooks High School. I encourage you to get on that road. Whether you physically do it, or you metaphorically do it, go out there and put yourself to the test. Don't be a person that's walking around this earth talking about what they're about when you really don't know, and you don't know down in your heart. It's very important to walk through this life knowing what you're capable of and knowing what you're not capable of. That may be even more important, you know. And so whether you get in the military or, you look at some other way to find that out, do that. Put yourself to the test. Challenge yourself. Fear, everybody has it. But I want to tell you folks, if you're hearing my voice today, on the other side of that fear is greatness, beyond your imagination, that you are now not affected anymore by the things you used to fear because you pushed through it instead of running away. There are many things that will do that for you in the military, in the world, but the military will give you that opportunity regularly.
Yeah.
To push through your fear and go forward for the prize. And I am grateful for all my years in the military. It's you got to spend your life doing something. And it was a great way to spend my life because I have seen the greatness of this country. I've seen the greatness of human beings. I've seen the greatness of people that, were supposedly my enemies. And it turns out they were not. And for all those things, I am eternally grateful to the United States of America and specifically the United States Air Force. It was a great job. I miss my friends still, and hopefully we'll get to see each other again one day. But
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your service and thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your journey and words of wisdom with students. And we really appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you.